Welcome to Richard Scale Modelling. This is part 8 of Warslug's British Armoured Car. Scale is 1 to 35. And in this part, I'm going to be carrying on the build with building the turret and getting that onto the vehicle. So let's jump onto this and see how well I get on. So before I get to the turret, there's one or two little things to be done first. And the first one is to place on the top headlights. Now, in the previous video, I showed you that you had to drill the holes in the wheel arch for these to sit onto. The rear lights, the instructions are called silver, but I think that was strange, so I painted them red. Now, I'm doing a thing here that I've never done before, and I don't know why it hasn't occurred to me before. When it's a solid piece of clear plastic like this, and you've got to have an inner colour and an outer colour. So generally, I would paint the top part of the lens the desired colour, in this case red, and then paint the surrounding colour the mount colour, and in this case it'll be the dark green. But I thought to myself, well, why don't I just paint it all the outer in red, but leave the actual front of the lens clear, clear, and when I paint the green, the red will come through. So I'll show you later on how that turns out. But as you can see, I've already switched to building the turret. The turret is a simple build. It's very similar to the ring that I built on the armor section of the car. The compartments get built on the ring and in corresponding orders. Now, you have to be careful with the fitting on here for the joints, like if you don't want to use any filler. It shouldn't need any filler, but it's quite easy to put them on incorrectly and they'll be slightly out. So just be aware of that. But each one does have a little connection point to guide you in. So I'm just placing the last one on now. Now this does have a rear hatch. You can have this open or closed. I'm going to be having mine open. This is why I haven't placed it on yet. So it's back to the rear light. So as you can see, I painted the red. Now I've left the front part unpainted, so it's just clear plastic. And now I'm painting the surrounding area with the dark green colour. And when I turn this around, you can see the red still coming through, even though the dark green is on the rest of the backing. And it gives off this depth of field look to it. Instead of a flat colour on a flat surface, the red comes through, and it's almost like a mirror effect, and it does look more like a light than a flat piece of plastic. There's a couple of little brackets to make up to go inside the turret, and these are seating brackets, really, I think, that go inside. There's also the gun mechanism, the holder mount that has to be made up as well. These are very small parts, and it's quite difficult for the camera to pick them up. If I try and focus the camera, and you can see how small it is. I'm not even really sure what it's for, but get made up they have nevertheless. Now they go inside the bottom of the turret. Now there's a couple of grab rails as well that has to go on. Each one does have its own location point, so the placement is easy enough. The last pieces to go in are the gun mount. I'm not sure whether these are meant to have movement within the kit or not. Obviously, in real life, they do have movement. But I cemented them anyway. The mount comes in two main brackets. The receiving mount is on top, then goes into the bottom mount. Again, my camera won't pick them up too well because the parts are so small. I know it's not ideal, but unfortunately, that's just the way it is. My camera just will not pick them up. You know, I've tried zooming in, but it looks all blurry, and you still really can't make out what's going on. Next to go on is the hatch, or the door. As I said, I'm having this open, so I'm just leaving it ajar. Of course, you can have it closed. This one already has its molded brackets on the plastic. You don't have to put any extra brackets in for this. And then once everything's dry, I'm giving a coat of Revit Aquacolor 04 Gloss White onto the weapon, and I'm painting this with Mr. Hobby H38 Steel Red Metallic. Now, there's two weapons that can go on here, the main gun, and there's a gun that goes on the outside of the turret. Now, that all depends on what version you're doing. Version 2 has the outside gun, the other earlier version doesn't. And while those parts are dry, I'm just going to be placing on the rear lights. I had to be quite careful here. These are very small parts and it's quite difficult to see them in their location points. But again, you can probably just catch a glimpse of the red coming through. It's a really effective method. There's a small amount of assembly required for the gun itself. First of all, there's the mount bracket that goes on the rear of the weapon. And then the front guard goes on. Now, you just slide this on. There's no need to cement this at this point. In fact, there'll be a requirement to move it in position, so it's better if you don't cement this at this point. And then lastly, the muzzle goes on at the end. Next, I'm making up the components that sit directly underneath the step wheel of the vehicle. I deliberately left these to later because I didn't know if they were going to interfere with other parts of the build, but now it's in the position where I can fit them. There's two halves placed together. You can see it's a sort of arch shape. They fit really well together. And while they're drying, I've gone back to the turret and to place in the weapon. So it's a simple fit. It's not complicated at all. It just gets pushed into its mount. Just a slight bit of pressure to place it onto the mount before closing it up. Onto the roof of the turret, a little bit of cleaning up needed to be done in this part. This is the only part that I had to really clean a lot of the plastic up, which is really good going. And then I'll just give it its final coat of white paint. This is not really necessary because you won't really see that much out of this, but just for peace of mind. And because I'm placing the hatch open, that won't be going on until I place the roof on. And as you can see, it's a really nice fit. It just goes, pops on there, doesn't need any pressure to hold it in place. And then once it was on, I was able to put on the hatch. I waited a good hour or so until everything was dry before placing on the hatch. So this just sat on it, the turret ring without any issues. You may find it difficult to line up, but you really shouldn't. The little brackets I put on earlier on, they actually do help with the setting of the whole turret. And once the turret was on, I was then able to place in the parts that go underneath the step wheels, and there's a little running bracket that these just sit on. There's meant to be a tiny bit of gap between the two of them. And now it's just a matter of tidying up some paintwork and painting the turret. The painting was fairly simple. It only needed 2 coats of the dark green. And once it was dry, it's time to put on the varnish, so it's Pledge Clear polish that I'm using. So I'll set that aside and work on the base. So this is just a piece of foam board, and I've cut to my desired shape, and I'm just drawing on it some vertical lines. So once I drew the lines, I gave it a coat of grey primer, and now I'm marking up the foam board. Now I've got a beveled tool here that is used for woodworking and clay sculpture, and this has a sort of round tip, and I'm just pressing it down on the foam board to make the markings. And what this is doing is I'm marking out a cobblestone effect. This actually took some time to do. It's not a big piece at all, but to mark out all the lines, it took a lot of time. I'm just coming to the end of it now, so you can see the sort of cobblestone effect coming into being. Once I'd done that, I painted the entire area with Revit Aquacolor 08 matte black and concentrating on the border first, or the edges, and then the main surface gets painted in all black. Now, the reason in doing it black is I need the paint to seep into all the marks that I made, and this will highlight the areas to make it look like cobblestone. Now you can do this with ink or washes and things like that, but paint works equally as well. And while that's drying, I'm going back to the card, and I'm using Tamiya's Weathermaster Series C and the gunmetal component, and I'm just going to be brushing over some of the hard areas around the vehicle to give it, not much by the way, just a tiny amount, just to give it a little bit of detailing. And the last thing to do for this part is to go back to the base, and I'm overpainting the black now with my chosen grey, and it is Art Colour 75 Stone Grey. Now, you want, if you're doing this sort of technique, you want the paint to go on as thin as possible in the areas, but not all of it. You want uneven paint for parts for the black to come through, others a little bit denser, and so on. So throw on haphazardly, and you should get a good effect. So as I said, this will end part 8. The next part, part 9, will be the final reveal. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? I'm sure there will be something that will pique your interest by now. If not, give me a shout and I'll see what I can do. Subscribe to the channel, and if you do so, please do so. Hit the notification bell, that way you'll be kept up to date not only with this build, but all my future builds as well, of course. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.